to the design studio. I am Kat, owner of KatsCreationsNMore, also Kats Creations Wreaths. It depends on where you find a website or on social media. And I want to welcome you to my studio, where tonight I am taking your suggestion, which you guys said that you want to see more primitive, country, rustic, farmhouse type of items. So we're doing a rag wreath tonight, which is my favorite. There's 3 different methods that you can use to create one. We're doing the one that yields the fullest, thickest rag wreath. So before we get started, let me give you a couple housekeeping items, which is 1, if you want to save this tutorial and you're on Facebook, click the share button. It'll take this tutorial and it's like a copy paste. It takes it from my page and pastes it to your page where you'll have it readily available when you decide what you're going to do and how you're going to put yours together. If you're on YouTube and you're signed into your YouTube account, just click save and it will save it to whatever system you have set up, whether you have files or you just have everything saved in one big save pool. That is how you will keep a copy of this. Also, if you want to be notified whenever I go live, just make sure if you're on Facebook that you have liked and followed the page. Like is already there, follow is hidden. So those 3 little dots next to the call to action blue button, if you click on that, it'll open up a sub menu. You'll want to just make sure that the following button is highlighted. If it is, you're great. That's how you'll get notified if you happen to be on your device when I go live. If you're on YouTube, simply subscribe to my channel and you'll be notified whenever we have a new tutorial ready. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to cover all the materials, which is really super simple. We'll go through all the prep, what steps you'll need to have handy, which will just make putting the entire thing together so much easier. So what we're going to be doing is we are creating a design much like the one that is on the door behind me. This is what's called the full rag wreath. It gives you a very full, like it's not so thinly spaced out. The width around that diameter is about 6 inches. So you're putting in quite a bit of fabric. And it yields about 18 inches roughly. It just depends on your cuts. You know, if you want it a little bit longer, then your rag strips will be a little bit longer. I like mine to be a little bit more on the rustic side, so I like to see those little fabric threads hanging off. There's people who decide to do pinking shears because they don't like that little frayed look, but to me it kind of makes it seem like it's old and country, like something somebody would have made in the 1800s to decorate their front door with maybe leftover clothes that they had from their kids and their family. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot you down. I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view of what we're going to be working on tonight so that you kind of have an idea. We're not doing Halloween, but we are doing my favorite, which is the white muslin wreath. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me pivot you down. Oops. Tightened my mount, so I'm hoping it won't drop. It looks like we're good on that end. Let me make sure I can read your comments. Close it. Let's see. Okay. So, hi Valerie, hi Irvina, hi Donna and Linda. Cheryl, welcome. Good evening, Pam. Hi Beverly. She says, loving the little tree by the door. You know what's so funny is I got that from Walmart about 3 years ago. And I am about ready to toss it, but I was telling Steve, I'll just leave it in the shop. Who knows? Maybe we'll reformat it and turn it into something different. So let me go ahead and post the comments below, or post my website. And the price point on these wreaths, I did do a little bit of research ahead of time. They average anywhere from, on the low side, $25, which I kind of find it a little difficult to believe based on material cost that you could sell one so low. Let me go ahead and pin that. And that's going to be your deciding factor. Grab the wrong comment. Hang on. There we go. Okay. And you're here. Yeah. Steve's here. She says, if I was closer, I'd come save that little tree. Well, okay. there's that. So hi Diana, hi Sherry, hi Dorothy, hi Jan, hi Mary Carol. So we're doing the 14-inch Dollar Tree wreath frame. What
little tree?
That tree.
Oh.
What do they call them? Pencil trees.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just not, I want it a little thicker. So that's just me. So we're doing 14-inch Dollar Tree wreath frame. You can decide on whatever type of fabric you want to put on. Like I said, when I was doing, there's 3 different styles that you can do. We've done what I call the larkspur knot, which my kids call it loop and swoop. And that's really good for all of your formed wreath. Like if you have a star and you want to keep it a star, or a clover or a heart like that, the larkspur knot is probably the best. But it's more flat. This is more fluffy and full. So that's what we're working on today. So muslin is going to range in price from $2 a yard all the way up to about $15 a yard. So it depends on how thick, if it's bleached, if it's unbleached, how wide your fabric is, so that you're, are you getting more than the average person? I think mine are about 45 inches where they kind of folded over on itself. So you will need about 4.5 yards of the muslin. I think when we've done it in the past, I called for 6, but I have, I want to say I have about 2.5 yards left. But I still have some that need to get put together and finish the wreath. But I think as long as you have 4.5 would be like a safe zone to have, because I would hate for you to go buy it and then you don't have quite enough to finish it. Like I said, it is all going to depend on the thickness of your material, how tight you tie your knots, and how many you can get in each section. So keeping this in mind, using the Dollar Tree wreath form, the formula that I devised is for this wreath form. So if you want to know how many pieces on each rail in each section, all together total, it is a grand total of 696 pieces that you will need to complete it. And I know it seems like that's a lot, but in each section, like on the outside, this is what I call rail 4, closest to the outside. You're going to end up probably putting somewhere between 30 to 32 in this section. Then as you get closer to the center, you kind of take away. So this is 32, this is 30, this is 28, and this is 26, for a total of 116 in each section. And if you want that fullness, you want that super big, fluffy, wreath, this is the method that you are going to want to use. Prep work is going to take you the most time. What I found today is that I was able to tie the correct amount of knots in each section. It was taking me about 10 to 15 minutes with my material strips already cut. You will need them cut into 1.5 inch by 8 inch strips. You can go less. You can, I wouldn't go any thinner, but if you want to take it to 7 inches, you could do that. You just won't have it, it'll be an inch shorter on both sides. So your diameter will shrink just a touch. I'm going to show you how we're going to go ahead and cut our strips. Based on my material being 45 inches long, by the time I cut my 1.5 inch strip, I can get about 5 of these before I'm tapped out. So when I'm doing it, as I'm cutting it, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, this one's 32. So if I cut 7 strips total, then I'm going to yield about 35. I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap, but I was doing it like 7 here, doing 5 here, because 6 times 5 is 30. I did another 5 here, and then I did, what was it? Is that right? No, 7, 6, 6, and 5. So that way I made sure that I had enough, knowing that there's 5 strips per per slice. So really super easy. When you guys are saying, well, what does she mean like that it's, you know, 45 inches? It means that when it comes off the bolt like this, it's doubled. So when I take this and stretch this out, it's 45 inches wide. So I find that if I double it, it just makes the cutting work that I have to do so much less. And then I'm going to take it and line this up on my cutting mat. And you're going to need a rotary cutter and a clear plastic ruler. It just makes things so much easier.
All those electric cutters that they had it.
You could, but I think it would just take me too long, because Steve's like, wow, I'm like so impressed Joann's has electric scissors. I'm like, yeah, I guess you could, but you have to lift that fabric and get it up underneath. So I don't think your strips are going to be accurate enough. Not that they have to be.
Well, they have that V section in their table too. They can just
Yeah. We don't have a V section in our table. So rotary cutter, we're going to, I have this measured out for 1.5 inches, making sure that it's at the 1.5 inches on the top, 1.5 inches on the bottom. I'm taking my rotary cutter and sliding this up. And this is what I was saying, that I have a strip, and this strip will yield me 5 pieces. Each strip, 5 pieces, based on 45 inches. And then again, you're just going to rotary cut. Oop. It would help if I actually had the blade engaged before I did that. Just like that, and you have your strips. So I just keep going. And what I would do is I went all the way around the whole outside, knowing that I needed, what did I say? 7 times 5 is 35. So 7 times 6. Yeah, but I'm like, I know what you're saying. You need your 30. Yeah, I guess 7 times 5 would be enough, right? 35. Yeah. So you go 35 strips, and I put those in a pile, and I did 35 and then 35, and I did that all 6 times. And then I cut everything, and then I just removed all the weird funky ends off of my my strips, because I have like that little salvage edge right here. So I just remove those. And then, to make life simple, because I'm always about trying to find the easy way of doing things, I would have all 5 or 6 strips laid out, and I knew that I needed to cut them at 8 inches. So literally I had all of them laid out like this, so that the blunt ends, here's the folded end down here, were right on my 1-inch line. Started at my 8-inch, and I just would take it and go all the way up the top. And so I cut those. Then I went over here, made sure that I'm still on my mark, going at 16, cut those ones. I can't really get the next set of 8, so then I would take these, open them up. So I had all the end pieces all opened up, and then I would take that final piece that I would get, and then throw away your scraps, and then you're ready to go. So I would do that until I had enough to go all the way around the outside ring. So some people say, is it easier just to work at a section at a time? It's so much easier to go all the way around the outside, then go all the way around the second ring, then the third, and then finish up with the fourth. If you try to do it this one, and then this one, and then this one, you'll see when you tie them on, they just get in the way. So starting or saving this inside ring for the last will just save you the aggravation. Let's see. Okay, making sure I'm not missing any questions. So I find it easier when I was doing my muslin ties, because sometimes if you pull too tight, you could potentially rip your fabric. I found that if I just folded it, right, as I'm getting ready to tie. And all you're going to do is tie it in a simple knot, just like that. You're not going to knot it again, just one. And then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing. So it was just easier for me to hold the fabric and keep it to where I could get it nice and tight. And you just keep on working that through all the way around the outside. So this is where, once you have all of your materials cut, like I did last night when Steve came home, you could sit on your couch with, you know, each section's strips laid out, and just binge watch whatever show, knowing that it's going to take you about 10 to 15 minutes to fill the section, then another 10 to 15 minutes, and on and on and on. The nice thing is you can stop whenever you need to, because you can always come back in and finish this up. Like, hey, it's dinner time, it's time to eat, and you're like, okay, well, let me go ahead and finish up this section. And the way that I came up with the 32, 30, 28, 26 is it was based on the size of my knots. And what I tried to do is really push them together and get as many in this section as physically possible, so that when this gets full and all these start to pile up, and they'll start to pile up from the outside, and then they'll kind of work their way up, and then they go to the inside, you have a really full wreath. And so your fullness on your wreath, and then the cost of how much you end up selling it for, is going to be based on how much did you pay for muslin. So if you were only $2 a yard and you used all 5 yards, well, then it's only going to cost you $10 to put together your muslin wreath. The thing that takes the most time is cutting all the strips. I was literally here for 4 hours yesterday, cutting the strips in the sections, trimming off the ends, making sure that I had enough of them, and then I would scoop them all up, walk them into the house, and go ahead and start tying on the knots. Do you guys have any questions on this method of just simply tying the most basic knot? And like I said, the only reason I'm folding it in half is it just strengthens the material for when I go to tie this tight. If I just did it a single like this and then tried to tie, sometimes you can kind of hear that rip. And so it just gives it a little bit more strength as you're piling on all of your knots.
Irvina, if your fabric cutter isn't doing good, you can go get a replacement for it pretty cheap.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, Irvina? This one that I got off of Amazon Prime is called Amogto, Amogto, Amogto. I have used this forever, and I haven't had to replace the what do you call it? The rotary blade. But the Fiskars, I can't keep that thing sharp if I needed it for a life and death emergency. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like when you get it all together. And what I'm going to show you is it is all complete throughout all 5 sections. It's gone into the 6th section, and the only thing remaining is this last little rail right here. Everything else on the wreath frame has been done this exact way so that you can get an idea, because no one got time to watch Kat do this 696 times.
Okay.
No. So let me show you what it looks like when it's done. So this is the fullness of the wreath that you get. And right now, even though you can't tell, where is the section that Kat is missing, because it looks full. And so, yes, it does yield a very full wreath. And like I said, I think the diameter on this one is like, if you push, if we're going end strip to end strip, we're like 19 and a half. And then I saw somebody ruby.
You're 2 inch by 8 inches, right?
Yes.
Strips?
No, inch and a half.
Oh, inch and a half. Okay.
Inch and a half by 8 inches. So 8 inches long, inch and a half wide ruby. She said, is the count of the strips similar to the birthday felt wreath? Valerie asked. No, it's going to be more. Yeah, because the felt is so much thicker than the muslin. So, right. Cheryl says it's beautiful. It reminds me of a wedding wreath. Right. And so this is a very generic, all-purpose, very rustic country wreath. You can pair this with so many different things. You can create a holiday bow that, you know, your client purchases this wreath and then they can just swap out the bows for all of the seasons. They're so nice because the only thing required to fluff them up is just doing this. This is all you need to do to fluff it, and then it's ready for the season. I've had people say, oops, I forgot I left it outside and it got wet and now I don't know what to do. Get a blow dryer and blow dry it as you're fluffing it. So wherever it's wet, just take the blow dryer and keep on fluffing it until it's dry.
And it gets softer as it goes, right?
Yeah, the longer you have it, obviously, the more, you know, you're in here and fussing with it and playing with it. It does get softer. If you want to purchase the higher quality muslin, which is about $15 a yard, it's going to be very soft. It feels almost pre-washed. Where this is a little bit more raw material. And if you want, because not every single one of your ties is going to be perfect, like you're going to have some long pieces lingering. I'm trying to find my scissors way over here. You can come in and just trim up the super long pieces so that it just kind of falls in line with everything else, if that really bothers you a lot. So let's finish that because I just found it. It is actually right here. So here's that section that I was telling you I had not finished. It's a very small section, and as you can see, it is very narrow. So we're going to go ahead and finish this one. It's going to take us 26 strips, but it'll go really easy. Should take us no more than 10 minutes. We'll create a really pretty bow for this. And then I'll show you some different ways that you can embellish this depending upon, like I said, some are more off-white, some are kind of like a creamy beige, some are that bleached white like this one is. And like I said, I just fold them because it's easier to tie the knots and apply the tension to get them on the bar.
I know besides the muslin wreath that you're doing now, that time you did the wedding dress.
Oh, yeah.
And you cut the wedding dress up and made it into a wreath like that.
And so, yeah, we were talking about that today. Me and my youngest daughter, we were talking about the wreath, and because Mom was talking to her while she was tying knots on the frame. And I said, you know, if you have some of Noah, her son's baby clothes that he's kind of grown out of, but they're still your favorite, consider taking them and cutting them in to the 1.5 by 8 inch strips, or even 7 inch strips if you don't want to quite that long, and make a memory wreath. This way you have a keepsake item in your house that you can look at all the time with all of his favorite outfits. You know, it could be a favorite Christmas outfit, his first Halloween, you know, pajamas or whatever that he's had, the outfit he came home in his hospital with. And these are what I call legacy wreaths, because you can pass them down to members in your family and they don't have to have, like, you know, somebody's wedding dress handy. That's what actually Steve's mom had asked, because when they lived in, was it assisted living? In assisted living, she had her wedding dress, you know, and it sits in the garment bag waiting for the next child or grandchild or whoever's getting married to want a piece of it. most of the time our kids are not going to want the exact same wedding gown, but they'll want a piece of it. And it kind of saddened her to think about it, that it's sitting in the closet. She's not really able to get out and enjoy it. And so she asked me, if I give you my wedding dress, will you cut it up and make me a wreath? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, if you're okay with me cutting up your wedding dress, I mean, we'll save pieces so that you can give to all the grandkids. So much easier to save just, you know, a portion of fabric or whatever. And then we created her a gorgeous heart-shaped, I hate to say it, a rag wreath, but that's what it was. It was just strips of lace. It was strips of the satin. We put it on a heart-shaped frame. We even made a rag bow from the lace in her dress. She had like little pearl buttons. We put those all the way around the inside of the heart and gave it to her. And she said it just absolutely made her day, because every single time she walked into that room, she could look at her wedding dress hanging on her wall, and it just gave her such joy to remember that time in her life.
Yeah, Linda said I like that legacy wreath.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can do it with...
Can be passed down to your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So much easier to pass down a wreath. This was Grandma's wedding dress. We turned it into a wreath. Oh, great. You know, it's something that you can take and hang on to. Do we have it? You know what? I think we have it. Yes, I have it. Let me go get it. It's sitting right here in my shop in a bin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on. You wouldn't know where it would be. I'll show you. It is in there. If you can pull that wreath down, it's sitting in a bin, and I'll show you. Because when Steve's mom passed away a couple years ago, that was given back to us because they were like, well, you made it, you can keep it, you can pass it down, which I thought was kind of odd. It should have stayed, I guess it did. It stayed in his family, but he's getting it out. And I just kept it for the grandkids. Our youngest actually wants it, so I totally forgot to give it to her. Let me see. Wow, this needs some serious love, but and this doesn't look at all pretty like it used to be. Let me look. It's because most of the pieces aren't pushed through. They're still on the back. So that's usually the first thing you want to do, is those knots will have a tendency of swiveling around on the front. So you want to make sure that you push all the pieces that are supposed to be there out to the front. So this is what I'm saying. You should be able to go through and push all those pieces. So this is just like her satin lining. Like this. Make sure that we push all those pieces back in, because they like to rotate around on the frame. See if we can get half of it to where it looks presentable, at least. This was just one of those things that...
That's about 4 or 5 years old now, right? Or longer.
I have the original picture that we took of it.
It was before COVID.
Yes, it was before COVID. I'm just trying to see if we can fix the majority of this. This needs some serious love before it can ever go up on a wall. And I hope, because I know your parents moved quite a few times after we made this for your mom, because they moved from California back to Havasu, and I'm sure this just got tucked in a box. Maybe it was never even unpacked. So just making sure that you push all those pieces through. Then when we go and grab them, you're going to want to make sure that you pull all those fabric pieces. We even added an angel pin at the bottom. Yeah, this needs to get steamed. so that all the pieces stay where they're supposed to. But I know it doesn't look pretty now, but I'll show you the original picture and we'll get that fixed up. Okay, but that's what it is. That needs to seriously get fixed up. Because I would not want to put that on my wall like that. I would want to fix that up. No, it's not that old. It was just not properly stored. It wasn't put in a box. More than likely it was kind of tossed in with everything else as they moved. Because I think your parents moved 3 times before. And it was probably, honestly, set in a box with a lot of different things. Oops, I don't know why that switched. Now Steve's like working on fluffing. It needs to be weighted down because all the stuff was pushed out of place. Because it should not have looked like that. Okay, so the whole goal when you're doing each of these sections is to make sure that when you finish that section, if you're pushing the knot over, you shouldn't be able to get any more in. As you can see right here, I'm probably able to get in maybe another 2 or 3 pieces. So just keep pushing back on the knots until you get them all in. You know, and everyone's going to have a different strength. They might not tie their knot as tight. Maybe a couple more. Have a couple more pieces sitting here. Because if you just stop at, you know, whatever, if I told you it was 26 and you're able to get 28 in, put 28 in. It's only going to make your wreath more full. I have 2 more sitting here, but I have a whole nother pile too. So just keep pushing them back until you can't wedge any more in. And sometimes you might be able to push it back and you're looking at that going, well, I should be able to get another one in. But by the time you put your knot in, not really. This will be the last one. Because I really can't push it back any further. And so this finishes this wreath off. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just take it, because anytime you lay something on it, it's just going to lay flat. So you want to take it and you want to fluff up those fabric strips and get all those fabric strips back to the front. And what I was saying when I flipped Steve's mom's wreath upside down is if I flip this upside down, you'll see a lot of these fabric strips are trying to make it to the other side, like all these cheaters on the inside, not the ones to the outside. Like these ones are just laying flat. But if I take these and pull all these ones to the outside, you've got ones like in here that are cheating. That piece needs to go back to the other side. And then all the ones in the center that we just did, these ones are all getting pushed to the front. So if you see right here, I just have a couple cheaters, but everything else is either to the front, like these ones are cheating. So you just push them back in their little hole in that row, just push it back in there and it'll be back on the other side. And so now you know that all of your pieces, all you see right here is just the knots, but all your fabric pieces now are on the other side. So then just take it and just fluff it. Just get into all those sections, because as you're tying the knots, sometimes they lay down. So this will give you a very full wreath. This makes a great centerpiece. Let's see. I think I have it out here.
Thank you, Cheryl. She's had 200 stars.
Thank you, Cheryl.
I've lots of things by saying Cheryl. Huh?
Yeah. It's because I don't really push the whole star thing anymore. Let me take this off. Still have this from moving. This isn't even the right one. Having the other one that's over there, you can take a hurricane glass and put that in the center if you're going to use a real lighted candle. This is not the one I was looking for. Is that one? Is it the same? Oh yeah, that's the one. So this is like a larger hurricane glass. But like these ones, this is from Hobby Lobby. So something a little bit more simple like that paired with like a flameless candle is all in here. And then that creates a gorgeous centerpiece that if you were doing it for a wedding reception centerpiece, they're inexpensive because these are the new flameless candles where the candle moves, but there's no heat. It's just battery operated. The hurricane glass would just be for if you're using an actual lighted candle to make sure that this stays away from that heat source. So hurricane lamp when you're going to use a real candle. It also just looks nicer if you put it in the glass rather than just do this. It kind of doesn't have the appeal that this does. This kind of looks like it has a purpose. Okay, and you can put rose petals or whatever on the inside. But that's an option you have. You can also take a simple sign like this Merry Christmas sign. It's just, what is this one? It is a 12 by 4. So there's 3 different ones in here, but you can attach that and put in a nice blue and white ribbon, and then they can just change them with the seasons. I think this one says, has Happy Holidays, and then there's also Let It Snow. So if you wanted something a little bit more wintry, you can just switch that one out. But let's go ahead and make a bow for this one so you can see what I'm talking about bow-wise. Let me do that. So let's make a bow, and I'm just using, keeping it simple, and like I said, this could be wedding, this could be, what is it, 25th wedding anniversary, 50th anniversary, whatever you want to do. I'm using 2.5 inch ribbons. This is from, both of them are from Michael's actually. So this one is kind of like a cream with little gold dots. And this is our gold glitter, kind of like a diagonal plaid. So let's make a bow with these. And in order to figure out how long our tails need to be, we need to kind of come in here and figure out how far down do you want it to be at its longest. I'm kind of thinking like that would be about a good length point, which is we're going to do that at 9 inches. So before we go ahead and measure, we're going to dovetail the end, which is just wired edges together. We're going to cut from the folded side to the wired end. That gives you that dovetail. I'm just going to use my bow dabber. We're going to keep it super simple. We're going to measure in 9 inches. We're going to twist, lay that right on the inside. And I'm going to go for about a 5.5 inch loop. So I'm going to bring this back to my 10-inch line. Stretch that out. Believe it or not, it is 5.5 inches. We'll just verify this one. 5.5. And actually, we're going to do this twice. So we're going to do double. So I'm just going to pull the bottoms so I don't have to remeasure, which means I just put my fingers in the bottom loop and the top loop and pull. Okay, but we do need to measure out that 9-inch tail right here. Let's put a nice dovetail end on that. So that's a nice, pretty festive ribbon. Kind of like a good all-purpose. Let's see if we have enough to get this. We're going to need 5x5. I'm trying to think. There's 36 and 36. We'll see how far we can go. I'm thinking we might have enough. So I'm going to do this one at 8 inches. Going to bring that in, twist, and let's do this. Let me just eyeball this just so I can see where it falls. We're going to do it at 5. We'll bring it into 5 inches and pray that we have enough to get them through both. Okay, right there. I got 2 more. You guys think we'll make it? Yeah, we will. But that will use up that ribbon in its entirety. And at 8. And that's the end of that ribbon. I think that was from, does it say? It used to say on there, like what year? It does not say. But it's pretty old because it starts with a 5, and I think Michael's ribbons now starts with 9. So yeah, it's pretty old. So we're going to grab a white pipe cleaner.
Sure, we didn't even realize Nick was doing something like that.
What's that?
She said, are you going to join something like Nick's donation starts program, Nick's seasonal decor?
No. Cheryl says, you can tell it's beautiful. It isn't ugly now, just sad. Right, it's just a sad wreath. We'll fix it up, make it look pretty again. We can do that. Worst case scenario, I pull the whole thing apart, press it, and put it all back together. So we're just going to go ahead and put our pipe cleaner in. We're actually going to fluff on the bow, or on the wreath. So bring this back over. And we are going to place this. I'm trying to find one of my side rails. So like these things, the side rail, because then it gives you a really good point that you can drop it in above and below that. It gives you a really good anchor point. It also makes it really easy for the client to take them on and off, because you just put them on the anchor. And since this is going to be a bottom bow, I'm going to pull these all the way to the bottom, just like this. And then we're going to lift top 2 or bottom 2. We're going to do bottom 2 here. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Try to make sure those look a little bit more organized, elegant. And then we're going to fan out all of our ribbon tails like this, just so that those lay absolutely perfect. So I have one above, one below. And so this could sit at the bottom lower right. You could flip it around like this. And this could be the top. There's a gnat in here. I just see him. He's just bypassing me every so often. It's because I have the door open because it's just gorgeous outside today. So then we have this. And then just make sure that all of your ribbon is displayed out. And then fluff again. Fluff for photos. But there you have it. Super simple, elegant bow. Like I said, you can change it out because you have a neutral base. You can add signs. You could, I'm trying to think, do we have anything that is within reach that I can think of? But adding signs, adding your bow, you could even sell this with interchangeable bows for the holidays, like Christmas. You can make a blue and white one and then include the sign, or you can just make it super simple so they can take it and swap it out every single time there's a new season or holiday. What do you guys think? So it's just super simple. It doesn't have to be over the top. Nah, different sign. Steve got me a really big one. Trying to think, I don't have anything within my eyesight that I can think of. You could do something simple like this and just add a very simple welcome. Yeah, you could do that one. Steve brought me this one too, which is just a Merry Christmas. I mean, you could jazz up your wreaths as much as you want or as little as you want. I change out the bow because I'm not a fan of the bow with that sign, but yeah, anything that you like, you can definitely make sure. I'm like looking at this one. I think the sign's a little too small. Yeah, but like have yourself a merry little Christmas. That would work. We could do that. And so this one has a hanger. So you would just attach your pipe cleaner to the hanger and hang it from the bottom so that that fills up that opening. But then also take pictures of this, showing it used as a centerpiece to where like, hey, right now we have our centerpiece done here. He knows where all my signs are. Look how that. You can just add that believe into the center as well. So, but like I said, you could do this as your centerpiece. I would spin the bow around the other way, put the hurricane lamp inside so that it looked like this. Put the candle in it, and I would move this to the outside so the tails are like this. This is how I'd use it as a centerpiece. And this would look great on your Christmas table, depending. And you could add sprigs of pine in there. But this is how I would use this as a centerpiece. And I would make my bow fan to the outside so that it looks more like a centerpiece for the table. But how simple is that, right? Just with taking 1.5 by 8-inch strips of fabric, a Dollar Tree frame, or whatever frame you happen to have, and just start tying them on in simple little, not full knots, just a half knot. Just, you know, tie, and then that is it. And then you have a gorgeous wreath, and we'll put this one on the door so you can see size-wise what this looks like. Let me fluff it, because we've only played with the bow like 3 times now, I think. Okay, let me pivot you up. Eeks. Trying to make sure. Oh, I knew it was going to settle into a no man's land place. There it goes. It's got this weird, it'll sit. There's that. And they're pretty weighty. I mean, depending upon your fabric, there's some, like that one has a lot of heft to it.
Yeah, it does.
So, and like I said, fluff away. And yes, you're going to get that just because I prefer to have it the stringy look. I like that. But you have a gorgeous wreath that you can put up for any holiday and any season. So you guys asked for it, so I thought I would take the opportunity to show you how to do it. Let me zoom in on that for you. Boop. I think that's it. I think we're there. Drives me crazy to not get it right inside. So there you have it. A rag wreath that you can use just from, if you want to do a legacy wreath. You know, I wish I would have had some of my dad's older flannel shirts. I would have taken them, cut them into strips, tied them onto a wreath, and I would have had a wreath that was just of all my dad's clothes my dad would wear, that I know that I would look at and go, that's my dad's shirt. And then just be able to add that into my home. So those are just some ideas of things that you can do with that. I will come back next week with another primitive rag idea that you can use to decorate your home for the holidays. I'm working on it, but I don't have enough fabric right now. So I've got to go get another 3 or 4 patterns for fall so that I can finish up the one that I'm working on. All right, everyone. Well, have an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.